Mom was going to die soon. We had a few days to help her transition. She was comfortable, well cared for and clean. Unfortunately, dementia had taken her words, and now a raging infection had become septic and was taking her life. The doctor spoke to my sister Nan and me frankly and clearly. He sat directly across from us, knee to knee, and said he would do whatever we wanted, but he made it clear that if it were his mother, he would keep her comfortable and let her go peacefully. Someone suggested another course of antibiotics. Nan and I wrapped our arms around each other, foreheads together in the most personal space we could muster. And I dared to ask what we both could barely verbalize. Why? What good would one more course of antibiotics do? Let's do as the doctor would do. Nan and I had come through our own troubles. For many years we were estranged. And even when we had reunited, it was a frigid detente. But in the year leading to this moment, we had learned to put our past aside and remember that we had more to unite us than divide us. Our energy as two women with a shared past was so much stronger than a fractured energy as warring siblings. We were daughters now, not medical professionals, and we were guided by our hearts. The time for logic was past. Mom's world had become circumscribed by our love, and we would do for her what we would want others to do for us. And with that, we made the hard decision to let her go as she needed to go. Initially, there were tears. Tears consecrate the important times in our lives. Loved ones lost, graduations remembered. Tears celebrate the happy moments that come with weddings and grandbabies and Christmases past. Tears served as monuments to ancestors, family and friends who would now just be one more root in our family tree. And there were tears that bespoke our reality upon becoming the next ones. For we were now our parents' generation. There was no one to run to when we needed a parental hug. There was nowhere to go when we needed to debrief the day. We cried for losing her, and we cried for who we had inevitably become. And then we dried our tears and got down to the business of her death transition. Adjusting to this new reality, Nan and I wanted to make this a joyful transition. We lit candles and infused the room with essential oils. We made that little hospital room our own. We invited friends, my 2-year-old niece, a litter of tiny kittens I was nursing. The nurse never knew, or at least she never let on, and filled the space with energy, joy, and carry-out food containers. My cousin gave my mom a full-blown pedicure. My niece pranced around the hospital in PPE, many sizes too big for her, and we sang. Oh my, did we sing. We sang hymns and Girl Scout songs and then sang them again. A diverse group of women singing Mom on her journey. Mom had been raised Catholic, but grew up amongst Quakers and Protestants, so her repertoire of hymns was vast and ecumenical. The Girl Scout songs were the result of many treasured campfires on the beach, watching the moonlight silhouette the lighthouse, and hearing the ferry to Martha's Vineyard slapping the waves. It was on those magical nights that I learned to sing harmony and bask in the love of my beloveds. In my world, everyone sang, "Tell me why the stars do shine. Tell me why the ivy twine. Tell me why the sky's so blue. Tell me, oh tell me, just why I love you." In Mom's hospital room, my cousin spoke of the elegant cream teas she and Mom would have on special occasions. My aunt thanked Mom for making her prom dress many years ago when her own mom couldn't afford one. My niece, in her PPE, snuggled in for a nap. This was the divine feminine in all its forms. I thought the Lord's Prayer in her native Portuguese would comfort Mom. Perhaps it was comforting me. Pai nosso, que estás no céu, santificado seja o teu nome. Venha o teu reino. Seja feita a tua vontade, assim na terra como no céu. This was my chant. It was sometimes calm and soothing, sometimes frantic and imploring, but I was always aware that somehow invoking this chant cleansed the space and brought forth the beloved ancestors. The room was filled with wise old crones, feminine energy, open to making the transition intentional and joyful. We pampered her and talked openly about the journey she was on. We encouraged her to follow the light and go when she was ready. We summoned the memory of Mom's beloved ancestors, her sisters, my dad, her mother and father, her brothers, and we bid her to take their hand. But she was not ready. So we continued to fuss over her, fluffing her pillows and arranging the bedclothes. And I began to understand that dying in this way, over time, mindfully, and with intention is a gift. I still find it hard to understand how some people die instantly of trauma, a shooting, or a car accident. And I wonder how the energy of their life is able to leave their body in the instant of that trauma. Mom, ever the lady, was taking her time. Perhaps she was replaying the highlights of her life. Perhaps she was filtering the beloveds she was finding along her way. Perhaps she was making sure that her energy was now ours. Whatever, we were determined to make certain that she had all the time and energy she needed to effect a sweet death. We fed her lemon curd from a demi-tasse spoon, which she could barely take in. We rubbed it on her gums. The feminine energy is trained to assist in times of life comings and life goings, to take control of the birth room, the sick room, or the death room, and to manage it. The feminine energy urges their principle on, washes them, nurses them, slakes their thirst, and wipes their brow. Feminine energy is active. We do. We must move through the event, and we did. There were no tears. We had a job to do, and we intentionally went about our duties. We threw open the blinds, letting sunlight stream in. We enticed her with the comforting smell of coffee and kung pao chicken. And we kept right on singing. Because God made the stars to shine. Because God made the ivy twine. Because God made the sky so blue. God made you mine. That's why I love you. The divine feminine was balanced with brief visits of male energy. The divine masculine? A male friend of my sister's came and led the women in a rendition of the ubiquitous Amazing Grace. He did not know Mom, but his leading the women in song was designed to comfort the rest of us. Though I personally am not comforted by the thought of a wretch like me being lost and found, nevertheless, he thought he was doing a good thing. My friend and Mom's, Alan, came and sat with her. He held her hand and whispered to her. We caught words from time to time, too personal to share, but we knew that he was saying his goodbye to a woman who had become perhaps mother-like to him. No singing, no doing, no tears, just being with her in death. My young nephew, just coming into adulthood, visited the now sacred space. We watched him learning how to be, how to react, how to synthesize his feelings of impending death by watching the men and women around him. And we smiled, knowing that we were teaching him a lesson which one day he would remember when it was our turn. The Catholic chaplain came to offer the sacraments of the sick and to pray. He was calm and steady, and yet unmoved by Mom's presence. He did not know her, and this was obvious. His words were as sterile as he was. But we were soon joined in Mom's journey by our dear friend Brad. Brad had been my friend since college, and on meeting Mom many years ago, Brad had exclaimed, "Oh, is this crazy, Alice?" He is wise and self-assured and fills every space he enters with joy. Big joy. Brad spoke with Mom about how grateful he was for learning to make her quiche and learning to set her beautiful table. He thanked her for me, teaching him to celebrate Christmas. And he threw his head back and sang with us, sang our Girl Scout songs and our hymns. And when he didn't know the words, he doubled up on the amen, loud and joyous and with a purpose that no angel could miss. The nurses certainly didn't. He joked that we were all wise old crones and one Brad. But in truth, he was just right. His energy was just right. The perfect meld of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, a balanced yin and yang. Evenings were hard. The hospital encouraged us to go home and rest, to leave Mom, as sometimes dying patients wait for loved ones to leave before making their transition. Still, it seemed that leaving was forgoing our duties. At Nan's house, we began collecting old photos, both to share with Mom and to prepare for a memorial. The next day, we'd talk through the treasures with her, some silly, some stiff and formal. Some harkened back to her childhood, some to her nursing school days, and others were gems from our time in Brazil and in Africa. I'm not sure how much she could see them, but she could hear us talking about them, and I'm sure they sent her into a dreamlike state infused with characters from the past. A few evenings went by when it seemed she was ready to make her transition. We elected to stay the night, come what may. We had become Mom's death doulas even before we knew the term. Atul Gawande tells us death is one of life's most potent and sacred passages, as well as one of the most denied, ignored, and feared. We did not deny that death was with us. We did not fear the unknown, and we welcomed death's comforting peace on Mom's behalf. Gawande says, if brought to the forefront of our minds, death has the power to transform our lives, release the extraneous, reprioritize our intentions, and initiate our courage. I suggest that he is not speaking to the dying, but to the living here, those experiencing the death of others, which in all its mystery invites us to consider that the profound peace we've long sought after has been with us all along. Nan and I, the death doulas, the feminine energy, the yin and the yang, were present in Mom's death. We were singular in our passion, intentional and focused on making the transition flow from this known space to another unknown journey. We knew there were so many questions. We know there is uncertainty, but for sure we know that no one, least of all us, need do this alone. We were not alone in this journey, and Mom would not be alone as she transitioned. The room was quiet now, with only my sister and I to witness. We used healing touch to get Mom to a place of comfort and to prepare her for her final journey. Nan and I focused our work on her chakras: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Releasing them from root to crown, we could feel the energy flowing away from her body. We lay quietly next to her, skin to skin, to assure her that we were there as when we were babies and would always be. We spoke to her in hushed tones, saying that which now would never go unsaid. Nan and I did all that we knew to do, facing Mom's death with dignity and resolve, and not without humor. We knew that we had created a fine death journey. Every once in a while, I wish I had taken a picture of our entwined hands. And I remember those wonderful days of happy singing and Kung Pao chicken containers, and I'm reminded that I have so much more than a Kodak moment. I have the powerful and everlasting memory of a happy death, a good death, and I am grateful beyond all measure When you are graced with creating a gentle death, with presiding as death doula for your beloved, may you step into the role with heart and faith and awe. I wish you courage and creativity and no fear. How will you step into this intimate and privileged role? Who will you invite into the sacred space? What energy will you create? Will you sing? What songs, perhaps poetry or magic, is your jam? And when it is your turn to make that mysterious transition, what do you want the atmosphere to be? I challenge you to think on these things now, before time is no longer your friend. Who and how will you be at that moment? And when the time comes for your beloved's transition or your own, I wish you the wiseness of heart to lead that journey and make it your own. I hope you do so in love. I hope you do so with peace. Mom's breathing was labored and stuttered now. We snuggled in closer, as though we might breathe for her. And then, in what seemed an instant, she breathed in hard and then stopped. She was gone. Transition complete. And we sang some more. I really think the Lord above created you for me to love, and picked you out of all the rest. God made you mine. I love you the best. May it be so.